Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. Let's start our video with a story about a crazy customer and a petty revenge on him. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Shake credit card in cashier's face, walk 6 blocks. This literally just happened, and I wanted to share. Most neighborhoods and cities have a corner store or bodega that neighbors build a bond with over the years. Our store's owner is an early 60s Palestinian with his wife and kids running the store. Sweetest people ever. I went in tonight and heard a lady raising her voice at the owner. I picked up what I needed and headed to check out. There's this lady shaking her credit card at the owner, demanding cash back. She's buying a chocolate bar. The owner gives me the, "I'm sorry, this lady is crazy" look. I'm just listening, trying to figure out what's going on. She needs cash for some reason at the expensive restaurant across the street, probably valet. There's an ATM right behind her. I realize that she's trying to buy a small item, then ask for cash back to avoid ATM fees. For clarity, most smaller stores only accept credit cards with a $10 purchase. Some offer cash back. This particular ATM fee is $2.50. It's an honest store. She was basically starting a scene over 50 cents and whatever her bank charged her. She instead was hedging all bets on that candy bar. It's not my store. The owner can handle this. And she takes it there. She starts getting closer with her credit card shaking and says, "I just booked a 10-top across the street. You think my credit card isn't good? Is there another store around here?" I hopped in. "Yup, down the street about 3 blocks on your right." Shot a glance back to the owner. Hey, play along. She's super angry at this point for some reason. It's been at least 5 minutes of this. She glares back at him. "Is there another store around here?" "Yes, the one he mentioned. It's right past 27th. She turned back to me. "Do they offer cash back?" "I don't know, maybe." She stormed out. The other corner store is a long 3 blocks, about a 10-minute walk to and fro. They also don't offer cash back. If she really needed cash, she either walked down to that store or swallowed her pride and went back to the store she yelled at. And our next story. Steal my iPod? F your laptop. A story from 2007. Imagine being in high school back in the latter days of George Bush and finally buying that iPod of your dreams. After saving up your allowance and the money you made around the neighborhood doing random work and lifeguarding at the local pool. Yup, that was me. And I was that D-bag 14-year-old who would make sure you knew I had one of the better iPods, one that could play video. It was the latest Nano, if I remember right. Simpler times. But every story needs an antagonist. My sister happened to find that role many times. We're very close now, but back then it wasn't so rosy. She was a teenager as well and spent most of those years resenting me. If I had something nice, F you for having that. I was quite protective of my precious iPod. She raised quite the crap storm when my parents refused to buy her one. "Your brother saved his money, we didn't pay for it. We're not stopping you from buying one too if you save your money." That was their attitude toward any luxury that us kids wanted, even up to that time when buying a first car was on the table. We each had to buy our own. It built character and taught responsibility. Well, that iPod goes missing one day at home when I knew damn well I'd left it charging at the family computer. I left it unattended. My parents confirmed they didn't touch it, and all eyes were on my sister. I'll jump ahead here as it turned out she had indeed taken it and had one of her friends temporarily store it until the heat was off her. She knew my parents would essentially strip search her. After this unraveled, one of my buddies saw her with the iPod at school several days later. It was time for payback. Back then, I liked to think of myself as a bona fide hacker. That's right, I knew all about batch files and how to open command prompt. Don't effing cross me. You have no idea what I'm capable of. Yeah, anyway, we don't talk about those dark days. But actually, I did know enough to copy/paste some destructive commands into scripts using delete and regdelete and commands of the like. In the days of Windows XP, this would essentially require reinstalling the OS. I also was aware of a program called bat2exe, which could package your batch files and associated files it would call from the same directory into a normal exe file, and you could pick an icon to slap on that exe if you had the ICO file on hand. It doesn't take a genius, because as much as I thought I was one, I wasn't, to devise a plan here. I put a script together with the worst crap I could muster and gave it the Internet Explorer icon. This went onto my sister's computer, which was an old Pentium M laptop which barely had enough butt to load MySpace at the time. My hacker abilities allowed me to log into the administrator account by booting into safe mode or something and simply replacing the iexplorer.exe main file with my science experiment. I believe I had it to where it would actually open the real internet, Explorer's parallel, so I could deny this more easily. Fast forward to that magical moment. She's home from color guard practice and is ready for an evening full of crappy webcam photos that use every mid-2000s effect ever created. But before she can upload them, disaster. The screen resolution goes boobs up, and the color profile is 16 colors for some reason. Random pop-up messages every few seconds. Microsoft Windows has detected a giant C. Please consider a system upgrade and stuff like that. Your hard drive is jammed with peanut butter. Restart required. The whole script plays out and she's left with a paperweight until someone can get around to sorting it. Unfortunately, the computer guy in the family took quite a while to get around to it. My dad knew damn well that I had something to do with this, even if he didn't understand it fully. He made my sister apologize to me before I helped her with her laptop and made her buy me a new case for it after she threw away the one I had to try to make it less identifiable. Edit. To people asking what happened to the iPod, I got it back after learning from my buddy that she was going to have it on her. She was in a world of crap from my very traditional discipline that child parents, in addition to her laptop being a boat anchor for a few weeks. And our last story. That'll cost you. I was helping my youngest daughter pack up the truck to move over the weekend. We had a good amount of people, so the work went quick. There was close to an hour before they had to leave. There was my daughter, her maternal grandfather driving, and another car following with more things, plus her 2 kids. Her grandfather worked with my father in the same mill and once in a while worked together. This was a story. He laughed as he told it. Cast, Dad, Roy, the grandfather to my daughter, shop supervisor, general manager. This is as close to how Roy told it and how I remember what he said. There was a piece of equipment needing fixed. He said what it was, but I have no clue what he was talking about. Just remember this cost close to $300,000 back in the mid-'80s. It was the original piece from when the mill opened in 1968 and parts were obsolete, and Dad had to make them by hand. Roy said the bearing burned up and stripped some teeth from the main gear. From what he was saying, Dad not only made the gear by hand, he also made a puller to get the gear off because that bearing needing replaced was behind it. Dad had gone to get the puller when the shop supervisor came over to talk with Roy. He asked how long the job would be and was told at least 5 days. 3 days to make or repair the new gear, and another 2 days for teardown and setup. Roy said Dad might be able to fix this one, and if that was the case, 3 days maximum. The shop super asked why Roy was just sitting there and not taking the gear off. He explained where Dad had gone and what he was getting, and he'd be back in a minute or two. This was not good enough for the shop supervisor, and he grabbed a sledgehammer and said, "If you just tap it with this, should come loose enough you can pull it with your hand." Dad had just stepped into the room and hollered for the shop supervisor to stop before he breaks something. I guess he looked right at Dad and smacked the gear. I have no idea what it was made of, but he hit it in just the right spot to break the gear into a couple of pieces. Needless to say, Dad and Roy were upset. They walked into the office of the general manager and told him what had happened, and instead of the 3 days they could have done it in, it'll now take the 5 days or so. He was pissed. First, the shop supervisor is not to touch any tool unless passing it to the person using it, and another, he's not to try any repairs himself under any circumstances. The next day, when Dad and Roy got the machine, there was a gear sitting there. The shop supervisor came over and said he had it flown in from somewhere in the States, and it cost $20,000 because it was air expressed. Dad tried telling him that it's the wrong gear and he'll just build one he knows will work. Shop supervisor told him to use the gear he bought because he wasn't going to waste that much company money without using what he bought. Dad and Roy got the bearing changed and were done getting the gear into place. It was made from a different material and a few other major differences. When they were all done, they called over the shop supervisor and the general manager to show how the machine is fixed. Roy and Dad gave the shop supervisor the honor of starting it up and showing how well it's working. With a big smile, he started it up. It ran well for about the first 5 minutes of the 15-minute test run when it started making odd noises. Before the shop supervisor could hit the emergency stop button, there was a large bang and lots of screeching metal. Dad and Roy took the covering off and saw that not only the gear was destroyed, but it was in tiny little pieces all through the machine. The main rod where the bearing got replaced had broken in a couple of places. It had cost the company more money to buy the parts and fix this one than it would to order one from Japan. Within 6 weeks, the Japanese workers brought the new machine but had it set up and calibrated. This cost the mill just under $3 million, where it would have cost under $50,000 if Dad and Roy were left to fix it. Since the shop supervisor wasn't part of the union, he was fired on the spot. When the mill fired him, they wouldn't even let him on the property. He had to wait for security to bring everything from his office. Roy said the shop supervisor's name was blacklisted in the industry. He moved away within a month, and as far as Roy knew, no one had heard from him since. Dad and Roy didn't get any real bonus for the job, but there was a little extra on their paycheck the next week. Roy said he can't remember how much, but it wasn't a huge amount, but it made a difference. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.